he didn't find too much success on them, so he's back to 4-color.
I think he felt this was a good meta choice for the day. I think the only decks that are really hostile to the 4-color strategy today are Burn, and we already see that that's been knocked out of the winners brackets by Louis on a very interesting land-based deck.
I think there can be quite a lot of comfort when you're playing these kind of grindier inevitability-based decks. Because with a quick, more aggro deck, it's more like every single decision you make either gets them closer to dying or you closer to losing. Whereas, as we saw in the last match, Alex could make some suboptimal plays, and because of the inevitability, the ultimate card advantage of the deck, I think there's something psychologically there that can just make you feel like you're guaranteed to win. Obviously not guaranteed, but
I can see that. Daniel's asking in the chat. I mean, we can't talk about specific cards in lists, Daniel. But I would say I'm not seeing that much Set Adrift, which is an uncommon from Khans of Takia, a Delve card. But I have seen quite a lot of Murderous Cut, and it seems fine in the deck. You know, you obviously get a bit of a graveyard, and it triggers up the Beanstalk, so never truly awful unless it's very early in the game and you really needed like a Leyline Binding and you can't cast your. So I've just seen in our group chat here that Balor's taken a photo of Elliot and he's wearing a suit and tie. Hopefully we get to see that on the feature match table today. Obviously taking this tournament very seriously, as he should.
Oh, he's going to appear on coverage.
Hopefully
we'll have to do some post-match interviews.
So when we're looking at opening hands, what is each player looking for in this matchup? What are they looking for in their starting hand?
They really just want to get as many Beanstalks out as they can as early as they can. And then probably try to Leyline Binding the opponent's Beans.
Really,
this matchup really is just about trying to develop the most card advantage and maintain it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it might sound like quite crude analysis, but I think that's right. I think as long as you've got more Beanstalks in play, you can afford to just pitch cards, Leyline Binding, take away their Beanstalks, and as long as you're accumulating more cards than your opponent, you're in a good spot.
Yeah, neither player really wants to be presenting a threat here because it will get answered. So waiting until you have the inevitability of having run your opponent out of cards and then trying to go for the win. It's like the best scenario.
So this match will go to time then?
Most likely, yes. Unless a player concedes from an unwinnable position. So Alex is definitely better set up for the mirror than Callum is, having the Hiri available to him. It means he can exile One Rings and Beanstalks.
I mean, Elish Norn main deck is fantastic also.
Yeah, and having
that's
the...
what you get
when
you play a 75 card list like this with Bring to Light, you get to play these matchup busting cards that Callum obviously cannot afford to have in his deck.
Having the one of Emrakul also means... Okay, I'm not sure what's going on there. Having the one of Emrakul also gives him some inevitability in this matchup. So I'm definitely saying that Alex is favoured here.
This is a nice curve out by Alex here. Delighted Halfling straight into running 6.
Yeah, the 4-color deck not having an answer to turn 1 any threat really other than exiling something in their hand to pitch cast Solitude or Fury.
But with Alex being on a 75 list version, I assume he's not playing Cascaders to get to his Beanstalks.
Correct.
Callum with the smaller deck and the Cascaders, I imagine he's playing at least Childless Agents. That gives him a much higher chance of drawing his Beanstalks, which, as we've just discussed, is very good in the matchup.
Yeah, I still think Alex is favored, just because of some of the choices he made in his deck list, but we'll see how it plays out.
He's cascading, I think, the only thing he can hit.
Yeah, it's likely just the beans. There's Bring to Light in... yeah, so we see Bring to Light and Time Warp in Callum's deck here. So if he's able to present a threat while Alex is completely tapped out, he can take just Time Warp and possibly win the game out of nowhere. I believe neither list is running counter spells.
I've just checked, and it turns out Alex is not actually playing Bring to Light as we thought. It's a deck that he's well known for, Bring to Light, so he's obviously changed it up for today. And it's Callum, in fact, who's playing Bring to Light.
Yeah. Callum playing... Oh, sorry, correction. Callum does have counter spells in the deck.
Yeah.
This is the thing about the Beanstalk. I mean, it's not solved. There are many different lists out there, many different flex spots. Some players are playing Bring to Light. They're playing, Time Warp effects.
Yeah.
Some
With Time
players
Warp in
are
the
playing
deck,
drop
I think
cards.
this matchup will be a lot closer than it would be otherwise.
That's what's exciting about when a new powerful card gets printed. There's a scramble to figure out the best way to use it, which is why it's fun to have big tournaments just after the release of an exciting new card like Beanstalk.
Yeah, so we see Beanstalk coming down on Alex's side now. It's getting forced with a exiled Omnath, I think.
I think the lack of a Bring to Light makes me curious about Alex's choice to play 74 cards.
Yeah.
I wonder what led him to settle on that number.
It could just be not wanting to mill himself out in the long game. But we see a Leyline Binding, probably targeting the other Beanstalk, yeah.
And this is the thing about the Beanstalk which makes it particularly frustrating. It is kind of cringeworthy to interact with because, it's always going to be card disadvantage when you don't have a Beanstalk of your own in play.
Yeah, we can definitely just see a Teferi come down, bounce the Leyline Binding, and then you're drawing 2 cards off of that interaction. Fortunately for us, Callum is a rather fast player, so hopefully this game won't go to time. That's an Ardent Plea coming in, so we'll see a Cascade into another Bean.
And maybe this does give Callum the edge in the matchup. All the Cascaders basically guarantees you up the Beanstalk by turn 3.
He's got 3 times as many beans in his deck, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then Time Walks to lock his opponent out of the game pretty much once he starts drawing cards off of them.
So I guess that means he can be generally more assertive in this matchup.
Yeah. Considering his Cascaders are also threats, he could definitely end up just winning this game by hitting with a 3/3 a couple of times.
What does Ardent Plea actually do other than being a 3-mana cascade?
It's a 3-mana Cascader, and it says creatures you control have Exalted. Sorry, no, it has Exalted. So
yeah.
Okay.
It gives it 1 creature +1/+1.
Oh yeah, 3-mana Exalted Cascade.
again, like you said,
I
pretty
believe
much
that was a
some
murderous
version of
cut
Beans.
from Callum. And then an attack with a 2/2 Shardless getting pumped by the Exalted Trigger to a 3/3.
Daniel called this cringe, but it's only, in this kind of deck, 5-mana spells can only be so bad. If you've got a Beanstalk out, you can just quickly reload.
I believe that's a prismatic ending on the other Beanstalk. Neither player having a Beanstalk in play at the moment. So 3 mana, we see a cycling of a land, draw card, and it going back to hand with Wrenn and 6. At some point, Callum is going to have to think about answering this Wrenn and 6.
Wrenn and 6 clearly wasn't happy about being usurped by a better value card in up the Beanstalk, so it's trying to showcase its utility in this game.
Yeah, we see another Ardent Plea. So that is going to be a 4/4 attacking every turn now.
Yeah, which is quite relevant, A
Yeah,
4/4 Shardless
definitely.
Agent now, he's going to threaten the Wrenn and 6. Threaten.
Alex is having a good look at all the cards that have been cascaded through because knowledge of your opponent's deck is relevant here.
Yeah. He knows to play around Force of Negation now and that there's Time Walk in the deck.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Time Warp. If there was a Time Walk in the deck, I think this would be a different format. A more exciting one, perhaps, but...
Daniel in the chat showcasing his dislike for the Beanstalk deck until one day he finds an Infect variant and then he's quickly converted.
Beanstalk Infect.
Okay, Daniel is now a burn player. He doesn't have to ever worry about 4-color players ever again.
Oh, he's come over to the good side. Burn's a great deck.
It is a great deck, especially in this meta.
And it can help you learn your 3-times table.
Very true.
It's quite unfortunate for Dorian today, bringing Burn, losing the first matchup into an unusual lands deck. I mean, you would have
That's
thought
true,
if he
yeah.
won that game and got into the winners bracket, he'd be quite well positioned for the rest of this tournament.
So I believe that was a Time Warp resolving. I think we're maybe going to get some sort of shade so that there's less glare on the left side of the screen.
Mm-hmm.
I know you said Time Walk earlier, Harj, but when you get into the territory of 5 mana, take an extra turn and draw 2 cards because of the Beanstalk, I mean that is approaching. That is a very, very
That is
powerful
indeed
card at that
approaching
point.
Time Warp levels. Perhaps better. Or we're going to see another Time Warp.
Beanstalk.
Yep. Leyline Binding, draw 2 cards, and then choose what to exile. Exiling the other Leyline Binding to draw another card.
Oh, this is gross. Pitching cards to draw 3 cards. It's like he's playing Gush.
Look at this. Callum's got a full house. He's got 3 Beanstalks and 2 Ardent Pleas.
This is when he's really going to have to start tightening the screw.
This is very hard now. I think Alex has got 3 cards in hand. Am I seeing 3 lands in hand?
Yeah.
2 lands and not sure what the other one is.
It
I
looks
think that
like
might be Bersager actually. Yeah, make it 3 lands.
If that is the case,
I think it's a Triome.
If that's the case, it's looking dire here for Alex.
Here we're seeing an attack with Solitude and an unattack with Solitude. Oh, before combat he's going to tap it. Okay, interesting. He chose not to kill the Solitude there.
I appreciate this from Callum as well. A more orderly board state.
A prismatic ending on a beanstalk. Are we going to see Callum pitch something in response to draw 3 cards?
Picking his favourite beanstalk here.
Can't quite see what was put into the graveyard there. Perhaps
Yeah,
Solitude?
Solitude, I think, must be, yeah.
Okay. It seems like Callum has got this one locked up. Teferi, perhaps bouncing in Beanstalk to draw cards.
Does he still have the 4th Beanstalk in his deck?
No, so 2 have been exiled by Prismatic Ending, and then 2 are in play, so there's
Okay.
no more Beanstalks.
I think the first one got, and yeah, Callum's. Alex had one forced earlier, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. So he's fetching a blue land, which means he may be playing a Time Warp here. Yep, that's a Time Warp, drawing 2 cards, and a concession from Alex. Wow.
That's enough.
Concession, there we are. So Alex takes the victory, getting a taste of his own medicine here. Callum taking game 1.
Despite my initial expectations, I think Callum is probably favoured at this point. Time warps are really the difference maker here.
I
I think it's
so.
also the
I-
cascade guaranteeing the bean means that he
That's
can just be
true,
way more proactive in general with his game plan.
Yeah, both players having a lot of dead cards, and the fact that most of their elementals are just removal for creatures, and neither player is really playing anything worth removing. It's leaves them a lot of dead cards in hand. On the sideboard,
I'd be very interested to see if Alex leaves his Emrakul in.
I reckon he would, just because the games go really long, and he probably could end up with enough mana to cast it.
Sure, but on the other hand, there's a lot that interacts with it in this matchup because
That's
it only has protection from coloured spells, and everything that you want to cast in this deck that interacts with creatures is basically another creature, or it's a Teferi, or it's a Leyline Binding. They're all permanents, not spells.
Yeah, considering the lack of endurances in his deck, I think he will have to just leave it in so he doesn't end up decking himself.
Quite possibly, yeah.
Are we going to see some commandeers be brought in from Callum here?
Yeah, most
obviously,
likely.
Commandeering the One Ring is a fantastic play. Even commandeering your opponents up the beanstalk, possibility also.
We could see a commandeered Emrakul at some point later in the game.
I'd love it
Reminiscent
if
of
that happened.
Aspiring Spike's recent updated State of Modern posts. I mean, commandeering a up the beanstalk certainly kind of reflects the state of Modern currently.
Yeah.
That said, Commandeer is a sweet card.
It's such a sweet card. It's the kind of card you want to be good for ages and then just never is good. And now somehow, once you're cantripping 3 cards off it, turns into a good card, right?
Definitely, I mean, any free spell when you've got Beanstalks in play is going to be good.
Oh, I do apologize. Commandeer is target non-creature spell. You cannot commandeer an Emrakul.
There's Dovin's vetoes. Is he going to bring them in?
Is this from for Alex? He almost certainly is going to bring those in, and likely the Terror Sunders too. Likely the Prismatic Ending and the Beseiju. So he's got a fair number of cards in the sideboard for this matchup.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a big sideboard from Alex.
Yeah, it seems he was really just going after the scam and 4-color matchups with his sideboard. Not
Obviously, an
too
issue
worried of
with
anything
a
else.
74 card deck is that your sideboard cards are less likely to make an appearance.
Yeah, very true.
So we've got
Yeah.
a post-board situation here where Callum's got a much higher likelihood of finding not only his Beanstalks but also his sideboard cards as well. I mean, the matchup beater here really is Elish Nor, and if either player can resolve an Elish Nor, that's really bad news for the opposing player. Shuts off basically all of your opponent's deck while effectively doubling the effectiveness of each of your.
Yeah, it does mean they
cards.
have to save their leyline bindings for the Elish Norn, but something
That
they can
doesn't work,
definitely
does
deal
it?
with.
If
Oh, sorry, the enter the battlefield trigger does not
Yeah.
work. You're right. Yeah, there's no way to remove it. So we might see some subtleties coming in from Callum if he's thinking about that.
Technically, I suppose you can prismatic ending a Alish Norn.
Yeah, that's true.
That would require them having a black source somewhere.
Which I believe they both have somewhere.
Yes, Callum definitely has one.
Callum
in his
certainly
hand.
does.
Certainly, probably to reduce the cost of leyline binding primarily.
Yes. Could someone remind me what inevitable betrayal does?
I think that's the thing that the blue spell that's 0 mana with suspend.
Yep, it's bribery, but
Yes.
suspend for free.
Right.
So just as another cascade target.
That then hits Emrakul. That's gross.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I'd love to see that happen.
That would
If
be
only
pretty funny.
If only to make the round time shorter.
So have we seen a inevitable betrayal being brought in by Callum?
We haven't seen how he sideboarded. I think they're trying to show us their hands. Maybe? No.
Well, he had an Emrakul in his opening hand, which wasn't what he wanted, I think. Easy 6.
So it's still in there.
Yes, it's still in there.
So it's interesting actually. If you're Callum and you hit the inevitable betrayal, do you just get the Elish Norn or do you get the Emrakul? Obviously, very tempting to get the Emrakul, but there are more answers to it. So maybe a smart decision is just to go for the Elish Norn and just to hope that your opponent doesn't have an answer for it.
That's a good point. Once again, Alex is demonstrating remarkable dexterity in shuffling that deck.
Any updates on the other scores? Somebody asks in the chat.
We have got Manuel 2-0 against Lewis and Casper 2-1 against Elliot. Those decks are. You guys seem to remember who's playing what?
Yeah, Casper's on Control, Elliot's on Scam, Manuel on Zoo, Louis on Land Stuff.
Okay.
Would you like me to switch the bracket?
Yes, please.
Well, the players are currently drawing their
showing
hands.
hands. Okay, we'll let them play this out then.
So this looks like a mulligan from Alex again to 5, most likely.
So I'm not seeing any lands yet. No, that is a 0 lander, I believe, in his hand here.
Yeah. So that's a mulligan to 5, and then we've got Callum showing us his opening hand of Shardless Agents, Omnath, a few lands. I didn't see what one of the other cards were.
A lot better of a starting hand for Callum there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we're going to see Zoo versus Control in round 3, Casper versus Manuel. Obviously favoured for the Control player, but I am hoping that Manuel takes the dub. Nothing against Casper. Just want to see some variety in the final matchup today. And Zoo is an interesting deck, quite slept on. Nobody really kind of puts it in their tier 1 set of decks, but It is a powerful deck, and also it's got some unique tools like Stubborn Denial, which is absolutely fantastic in that deck.
Been sitting on my Stubborn Denial since Khans.
He's a fantastic card.
Love those cards. Love that card.
So the matchups that went to time, we had Leo and Sammy. We had Sammy winning that one. Sorry, it was Arno and Alex that went to time. So that was Yawgmoth beating Sultai Coffers.
Even sounds wrong, doesn't it? Sultai Coffers.
Yep. So now it's going to be a Yawgmoth versus, I believe it's a Murktide matchup. So Yawgmoth is certainly favoured there.
We've got 2 lands in his opening hand at the moment.
I think that's a 1-lander with a couple of Beanstalks.
We have a Besagio, I think, and I think a Triumph.
Oh, he does, okay.
Yeah.
But I didn't recognise the Triumph.
And I mean, as far as 5 card hands go, I mean, this is kind of what you're looking for as Alex, right? You've got 2 Beanstalks in hand. Next step will be, obviously, to draw your land drops and to draw some 5-mana spells.
Turn 2 Beanstalk there.
And a non-wrath in hand, that's a good draw for Alex, as long as he can hit his 4th land drop, which you imagine he'd be able to do, given he's got 2 Beanstalks, 1 on the battlefield and 1 in hand.
Generously showing us his hand at this point.
In quite an elaborate fashion. I expect Baldo is giving them orders.
He's kept the Besagio. We may see a Beanstalk being Besagioed here, but you'd expect that sort of play later.
Is that a Terra Sunder? Or a Besage? That's the Terra Sunder, right?
Terra Sunder. Yeah.
Yep.
Giving the opponent an extra land at this stage in the game is usually not a good idea.
Yep.
It's going to be a cascade into another Beanstalk. And then next turn there is an Omnath in hand.
There's the Beanstalk, quite a short cascade chain.
Yep, Alex choosing not to look at the cards that were cascaded into. Okay, so holding up to Dovin's veto.
Awkward though, because Callum has just cascaded.
He's going to have to fire off the Dovin's veto, and it's not looking great for him, as there's 2 2/2s in play.
We'll at least have a target here.
Yeah, I don't think Callum minds this too much, considering the current board state.
The problem for Alex as well is, up the Beanstalk is great as long as you have 5 drops in hand, and without them, it's not accruing value.
We're just going to see you attack for 2 here.
I suppose that's the added benefit of playing the Cascade version of 4-color, is that your Beanstalks come with a free 2/2, which means that you get pressure for free compared to your opponents who don't have Cascade.
Yeah, you do. And now we see a 1 ring resolving Okay.
Very good top deck, I think that was for Alex there. One ring. Just bring him back into this game.
Yeah. Callum is
But as
likely
you
going to
said,
play Omnath and then a land here.
these 2/2s do chip away. So, when the protection goes next turn, Callum will have some beaters.
Why are we seeing dice rolled here? Okay, cool. Right, we've got some d6 now, so we can actually read what they say.
What's this card on top of Shardless Agent?
Shardless Agent.
Is it just another Shardless Agent? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we see an Omnath here. Draw a card and hopefully a land from Callum to follow up.
Does Callum have the Leyline Binding here to respond to this One Ring? If yes, I think he's in a good position. If not, this is
So he is fetching.
quite good for Alex.
Hopefully he has another play to follow up on that Leyland Binding if he has it. Okay, that's the plains. Just Solitude. Okay. So no binding for the One Ring, but a pretty dominant board position here.
Agree, but I think Alex does have an Omnath of his own in hand. So this will gain him a bit of life.
I think that Callum's reasoning was probably that he could represent lethal in 2 turns without interaction. Of course, in a game like this, there's always interaction.
Yeah. I don't imagine he would have run out the Solitude unless he had another one in hand. Okay, so we see a subtlety here for the Nahiri. I'm surprised he didn't... Oh, he exiled an Inevitable Betrayal. So those are in...
Yeah. I think it's just the one. So I'm not sure.
I believe he had 3 in the sideboard.
So
Really?
it's going to be a hell of a lot of damage here.
Yeah, he had 2 in the sideboard. So there is the option of another one being cascaded into.
So this is nearly lethal now. So if Callum attacks for everything, that is 11 damage, 2 damage from the ring. So Alex is effectively on 1 right now.
Yep.
And of course, there's always the risk of a time walk.
So there's a Teferi.
Time walk.
Is he going to tap mana for that Teferi?
I think
Apparently not.
A bit of a think about what he does with this Teferi.
Hopefully he pays mana for it.
I hope he pays mana for that.
Let's see what he does.
So
did
he cast a Time Warp or something? I'm not sure how he's cast this Teferi. Should we ask the judge to intervene? Probably.
Well, let's see if Callum uses this mana. I've got a sneaking suspicion this game won't be going on for too much longer. We see the hands thrown up by Alex here. Can't quite make out what the card is that he's just stolen out of Alex's deck, but it can't be very good for Alex. It's an Emrakul.
He has stolen the Emrakul. He still has not paid mana for his Teferi, which is confusing me somewhat.
Let's just hope he doesn't spend that mana.
If he does spend that mana, we can intervene.
He fetched for his Omnath. Sorry.
Did he?
Yeah. He probably played land.
Thank you, Chatter.
Oh,
and
did
that's
chat
it.
say the same thing?
Somebody pointed out in chat. Yeah, so that's it. Callum with the relatively quick 2-0 there. Congratulations to Callum. I think his deck was better equipped to deal with the mirror right there.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's, if we can, Hugh, move on to the standings, and we can just talk a bit about what's going on wider in the tournament.
Or just a moment.
We're still waiting for scores. The standings haven't been updated since we last mentioned them, but we've got Manuel and Casper in the third round. We're still waiting for the winner off Alex and Sammy in the, I suppose they're the quarters. I've had some results in the losers bracket, but not a huge number. We've got Dorian on Burn taking out Archdota, who's on Scam. And it seems like I'm having seen these tournament standings more and more. It feels like Scam is a very, very strong but ultimately very unreliable deck. Because it either seems to win really hard or just fold based on whether you can do turn 1, turn 2 busted things.
I think
Have we seen any Scam players win? So we've seen we've seen one Scam player win one match so far.
It's the nature of the deck. If you can get your Scams turn 1, you're in a great position. One of the strongest turn 1 plays in Modern that you can rely on consistently. But if you don't get the turn 1 Scam, your deck is not that good. If we took out all the turn 1 Scams, the deck would probably have I imagine, a sub 50% win rate.
Yeah, some absurd cards and some cards that aren't even good in Limited.
Perhaps your limited evaluation skills are what's in question here.
Maybe I need to get better at draft. Maybe I should just play all of the Undying Evils I can find.
Yeah, I think you should.